Okay, then I will cover at least Meg's saying, remember tomorrow night is the meeting. She wants you to bring quotes, 6 or 7 of your closest friends. Parents, in-laws, kids, you name it. She said, bring them on down. Is there any food there? Open bar? Okay. Might be an open bar. It might not be that. It might not be. Okay.
Where are you supposed to show up?
Wilson?
There's a sign on the front.
Also, also available via Zoom.
Yeah.
She just wants some warm bodies there, I know that.
So,
All right, we'll go in. And Meg had her opportunity today. Usually she's sitting right there giving us an update, but tomorrow night's the night.
Let's give Becky an opportunity to talk about firelight.
Becky, we've heard a lot about you. We are in public comment, our non-agenda items, 3 minutes per speaker. And it's all yours. If you please sit up here and talk into that little black microphone.
Sure.
And I do remind everybody phones off, just so that we don't interrupt Becky.
I am Becky Browning. I am the vice chair of the newly formed Firelight Water and Sewer District. And we just wanted to give you a brief update of where we're at. We're still kind of in the baby stages with taking care of all the necessary paperwork that we need to fill out for the state as a new district and understanding all of our legal parameters now that we're just like you and have to follow public meeting law and all of that. But we're starting to pivot towards getting funding so that we can take care of our preliminary engineering reports of our existing system as well as an appraisal. And it's still very much our goal of our 216 ratepayers to form or to annex into this water and sewer district. So we just wanted to open up that channel of communication and see if you had any initial questions or advice for us.
Becky, you did get VisRad funding for what, $25,000 last
We
week?
applied for a micro
2 weeks ago?
so that we could
Yep.
do something like hire a lawyer. We've hired Mace with WGM to do that type of thing. So we're in the middle of the interlocal government grant process right now. So we got another week to go on that.
You say 260 ratepayers or 17?
Yeah. And that, doesn't that translate into about 300 SFUs? I think we did at one time.
Yes.
So 216 units.
It's 300 SWs.
That's someone, just a question. Congrats on the vote test and on getting the support from VisRad. That's nice. Good start. Any questions? How about a timeline? I mean, do you have a general timeline for?
Not yet. I mean, we're anticipating a 2 to 3 year process.
Yeah.
But I think you guys might hold the answers to some of that. We're not really sure what to anticipate in the annexation process. We still need to negotiate with Westburg Utilities, our current providers. So we have a meeting with them next week to get that going. I think they're more than ready to get out from under that system. So I think it's a matter of us gathering money is our biggest obstacle at the moment.
Money and getting out from underneath the service commission.
Right. And they just approved a rate hike for us, so. Yeah, our base rate is now $169, I believe. So, we're anxious to resolve this.
So if you have a critical path chart or a Gantt chart of any type of may be helpful, we could help give you fill in accurate timelines for any needs you have. District. I think you've been about as patient as you get. We miss Karen as well, right? Wasn't she
Yes.
she was the last leader. I'm sure she's tough shoes to fit, but congrats on getting it over the goal line.
Thank you.
Great.
and Becky, you're aware that we did some preliminary analysis on this, years ago. It's been kind of an ongoing process. And so there's information you guys are looking for, digging back into. Yeah. Yep.
Do you know about what timeframes is 2020? Okay.
Yeah.
We've been working with Westport Utilities for over a year, so.
Okay.
So that could fill in some gaps or be helpful as you guys are kind of.
Yeah, we
Kind
didn't
of
really have
form
a
the
conversation
approach.
until we were something
Yeah.
besides an HOA, so
Yeah.
we're ready to do that.
So just so I'm clear, when you say you have to negotiate with them, you have to negotiate leaving them? Is that what you're essentially doing?
We need to purchase our existing framework from them because we don't own any of the piping. They own all
The
of it.
infrastructure.
Yeah.
they'll take it out of a private, it's private right now, so they'll take it from private and make it public with the water and sewer district.
With their water and sewer
Yeah.
district.
And then it makes it a lot easier for us to work with them. Yeah, part of that process, they had to get DEQ to sign off, Public Service Commission to sign off. Public Service Commission wouldn't sign off until there was an agreement made. And that's where we were hung up with West Fork Utilities until they passed their vote to form the sewer district. So the MOU that we were following that put all the information together, all the price points and all that stuff. So we had preliminary done all the legwork for them. So should be pretty easy, but things change. So
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Tony.
Thanks.
We can call the regular meeting to order. Anyone else online, just triple check, and we gave them 5 minutes, 9 minutes to figure out something. Nothing. Okay, we'll call the regular meeting to order then. Conflict of interest declaration. We have a full quorum.
None.
None.
No. All right. Jump right into Johnny. I'll let you take over election of officers. I'm just going to put, just to avoid confusion. Peter and I have gone back and forth over the weekend, and there was a concern, or is a concern, with regards to the bylaws and election of officers. And Peter has some information I think you wanted to share, and we'll talk about that before we start nominations. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, just looking at our procedural manual and the bylaws, it states that our board of directors elects officers at the regular November meeting unless a meeting is prior to a November public election. Board members, which we don't have this year, I think several times.
we do, so I want to correct that.
Okay.
So these have not been updated since 97, and in 2003, MCA code changed that to May.
Okay.
And when we did the 2024 election, we held the officers in May. So we were actually a month behind this year to do the re-election in May. So that's why we're doing it.
I see. Okay. And historically, we have often done it in April and May, but my understanding was that was because we had, an election, we had
So
board
it
members
used to
seated.
be in November, and then it got moved to May to align with the school district. When that got moved, so we got elections next year. It's actually 2 that are up for election. You have to file by November to be on. And then next year, after that election, we'll reappoint officers again.
So are these officers for 2-year cycle? I'm
1
sorry.
year.
They're 1 year. So next May,
Yes.
to stay in line, you would do this again. So as Johnny said, we're actually we'll say a month behind.
Yeah, we're a month behind.
You have your election, then you do.
We had a busy May. I forgot about it, and then you brought it up. But
Make a note, Johnny forgot about it.
I did forget about it.
Actually, I'm the one last time that said, let's figure this out, make sure we're sure about what we're doing here.
So every May, after the election and after, if there is an election that year, because the following year we won't have one, but it's still be here.
So this isn't just today, this will be moving forward.
Yes.
It will always be May.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with
Always
that?
be in May.
And it has been for a while.
It has been, yeah.
I mean, since I've been on the board.
But I just wanted to make clear that we're still, because we're going to be going to a 5-member board at the end of next year, we're aligning all of that because there was a Senate bill also in 2023 that made the appointed positions non-voting, but because our 2 appointed positions were already in office, we'll make those changes after their
In a 4-year cycle, so you finish out your cycle of voting, but that's something we'll have to put on the agenda for next year, especially after elections. Say, what are we going to do at the end of this year? You'll be a 5-member board. That'd be a little tricky. 5-member board is going to be hard for this board, I think. I guess Jared, but I mean, just even the attendance when you start getting into
yeah, because in 3 is a quorum. And that's why in the committees moving forward, we have 2 board members, and then if we need a little bit bigger committee, then that's where we would institute advisory committees where the board can take application and appoint people to sit on those committees for.
I get it on the quorum, you gotta be careful.
Yep.
Gotta be careful in any meeting we do with that. Just because we're on this topic, I'm confused on shrubs. I thought we had a going away for shrub, and I heard that after the last committee meeting, there was discussion. Is shrub considered an active board member for quorum purposes in a meeting? Yes. I gotta be honest, I didn't understand that. Yeah. So technically,
Yeah, he got
Shrub
some
could walk in-
clarification from Susan.
he could walk in and vote.
He can still participate. but
Okay.
He's electing to not participate as much over the next year.
It's a good clarification. I didn't understand that until you just said it. I didn't until you confirmed it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the election officers. We just have to be tight on this. Okay, so how does the board feel about that? You had concerns in the bylaws. You feel as though that.
Yeah, and so my question, John, is just, do we have an updated bylaws that has?
We have them in draft.
In draft,
Yeah.
okay, so it's coming,
It's coming.
okay, great, yep, just want to make sure we have it.
Yeah, this is the last piece. Like I said, there's, you go through every work session or every, there's been things that have changed. This is one of the last remaining documents that we've actually got to update to make sure it's in line with everything. So,
Okay, great, well, thanks for clarifying, and again, I withdraw my concern because, obviously we want to maintain our decorum and rules of,
Well, we want to be in compliance with the bylaws, and I appreciate that. I didn't look at that they were in here, so thanks for looking into it. Any other comments from the board? You feel comfortable with nominations and election of officers?
Yes, I do. It doesn't make sense to go 6 months without reappointing officers. We could have somebody leave the board who's the chair, and then what do we do for 6 months?
Well, and you don't have an election in November.
Right.
November has no
That-
relevance anymore. May seems to
That's
be.
funny, that changed a long time.
yeah, that changed a long time ago. The code was recently updated in 2023, so I'm looking at it on my phone and I can actually see this is 13-1-5. What's this?
Okay.
I've done a lot of research on the whole board and making sure that we're all in compliance and stuff the last year. So learned a lot.
Compliance is a good word. Johnny's obviously getting more comfortable with this.
Susan's promised to get me the MCA book so I can highlight it and earmark it. All that stuff.
The Hawaiian shirt reflects that comfort.
Yeah.
I feel overdressed today, and then you gotta go to an attorney's office. So, okay, we all set with that. Thanks for double checking, and again, it's great you're on it. That being said, unless there's any other comments, we can get into motions for nominations from the board. Thoughts? What's everybody doing?
well, I'd like to say that, I feel like your, leadership has been excellent over the past 2 years now,
I think it's three.
three,
Yeah, it's at least three.
Ready for another one?
yeah.
Thank you for now.
All right. In light of that, I'd like to nominate you to continue as president.
I'll second.
Thanks. Okay. Comments? Open discussion? All in favor? Quick,
Important.
we'll take it. We'll take it for you. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you, Peter. All right, on the slate, anyone have any motions for the slate or for any other positions? Okay. I will make a motion for the slate of Mike Wilsinski as treasurer, to move Al up to vice president, and Dick to remain as secretary. That is my motion. Okay, second?
No, second.
In other words, you guys on board? On the blind side? Okay, in the end of the discussion, Peter and I have talked extensively about it, and this is going to dovetail into the committees and some things that Peter has going on that he's going to be focusing on as well. And appreciate all the work you've done. And we're going to have that, we'll dovetail this into a talk later in the meeting as well. But that's how I looked at that slate today. So, all in favor?
Can I discussion?
Sure.
Just going back to the bylaws. Just want to make sure that our new bylaws will state that we elect 4 officers, as the old bylaws.
Yeah, so the current bylaw doesn't have the trigger.
Correct. Yep.
The draft
But
bylaws.
we've had a treasurer for numerous years. Just want to make sure that that gets
Yeah,
transferred
it's in the draft.
It doesn't even acknowledge it, or is it secretary
It's
treasurer?
just secretary. I'm assuming back in the day, the secretary and the treasurer was
it's
the same.
president, vice, and secretary in the whole bylaws.
Yeah.
If you read the
I don't
bylaws,
see it secretary treasurer combined.
yeah,
Okay.
if you read the bylaws, the actual duties of the board president, a lot of that I'm doing now, today. So that's where we've got to realign all of that, so. But your financial officer, that was the reason why they were CPA. They did the internal audits, and then the board had the option to choose for an external audit of the books, which we've practiced
Since I've been here.
years
Yes.
of having that.
We have that as an option.
They had it as an option, but now it will be mandatory because we're not requiring the financial officer to be a CPA, just to have a financial or accounting background.
In the early years, the revenue didn't hit the number where it was required, but we do that.
Yeah, now for a number of years, I was secretary treasurer. Yeah, and then we split.
I didn't know that. Okay.
So I want to make sure you're bona fide, Mike.
We're all questioning.
Thank you, Mike.
Good.
Are you comfortable that we're in compliance then? Yes. Okay. I'm always going to double check that we're all, this is important.
Yeah.
On consensus, and we want to make sure we're in compliance. And it's
Yeah.
good to know.
And I just wanted to say, Al, appreciate all the heavy lifting you've been doing over the last year. Definitely have taken the world by storm, and yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot, and Brian needs a lot of support in there, so really appreciate you doing that. And hey, I mean, we've made a lot of progress and a lot of great collaboration connections happening right now. Let's keep it going.
I've learned a lot. I can-
Yeah.
We all have.
Fire.
It's been an active year for all of us.
What did I say to you the other day? I'm not sure I knew what I was getting into. But I'm glad to have learned.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and we'll have these conversations, but it helps elevate the need for some kind of public relations or outreach, because it takes a lot of time to understand everything that we do. And once you understand what people are doing, I think perspectives will change.
Yes.
It's really appreciated from my point of view, being in the weeds and being at that high level that, having new people come in, like Amy and Lindsay, it's like, what is that? And so you have to take it from that high level and bring it down to be able to explain it. And so having that practice also helps with the work, because you're not in the day-to-day either. So even when you're over here signing checks, hey, what's this? It just says this. I immediately go to this and go, oh, no, yeah, that's a piece of equipment that we had in budget coverage just Peter to do his job. So it makes it to where it's not taken for granted. It's actually looked at and to get that feedback. And, I say you some stuff and it's like, hey, I got these questions. That helps me bringing it down to, what do they say when you speak to the public? It's a 5th grade reading level that you've got to be able to. It's really nice, especially at the pace that we are moving. Covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, I'd encourage everybody to look back over the last year. Everything from the review process, not to criticize the past, but that was really a great experience to go through those reviews and the structure. I think structurally we're in the best shape, and we have to be at this point. So it's good to reflect. I think we're going to be shifting in a different direction on some things, and we'll talk about that. But for right now, we have discussion. We have a nomination or a slate, a second. Anything else? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously, and thank you all for stepping up on those, and thanks for the work you're doing as well, so. All right, consent agenda. I always just open it right up to you there. What do you got before anybody makes a motion? 'Cause you always have an asterisk on consent.
no.
Yes, you do. I made that mistake a number of times, so let's make the motion, you go, but wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, this is the end of our fiscal year. This is the June report for our fiscal year end. And so if I will just go through a little bit of the summary of how the year went. With respect to revenues, we're at about 106% of budget. And that's a result primarily of water coming in higher, which is a good thing.
For the month of June.
No, for this whole, this is for the entire.
I was gonna say June had to have been a spike in water usage, and I was thinking that was fiscally a good thing.
Yeah.
If it's a great thing for.
Well, it turned out, I mean, the revenues in June were not remarkable, but they were better than I expected.
I thought they were gonna be remarkable looking at the sprinklers.
In the operating category of administrative expenses, again, we've been talking for years now with respect to the legal fees, and that's what really threw us over this year. So general administrative expenses are at 132% of budget. Again, that's a result of our legal fees and what's through the roof again this past year. So that's expected.
We budget now 100,000.
200,000, 205 if you the miscellaneous legal fees.
And we're 135% at 200.
No, we're at on legal fees, we're at 450%.
Okay.
So we're at 903,000 in legal fees.
So those over double
Plus another
on a very
68.
generous
103.
on a very generous budgeted amount as well in the first place. Yep.
Both the
Consistent.
Yeah. Well, both the water and sewer department came in under budget fractionally.
Hey, Terry, can I pause you for a little bit?
Sure.
I'm logged into an account, so I gotta swap accounts.
Okay.
So just pause for a second.
Yeah, your thoughts.
Yeah.
Just garden.
Go ahead. Take care.
We got Meg. Can she speak? Are you there, Meg? Nope, we got her on mute, or she's on mute.
Unmute yourself, Miss Meg.
Yay!
Sorry, I was plugged into the wrong Zoom account.
Meg, I already gave you a shout out though for tomorrow night. 6 or 7 of your closest friends. Free food and beer, right?
Please bring your. Actually, if you come, I'll buy you a beer. Just so I can get you there.
I don't have 7 friends though. Do we still know? Gotta have 7 to get it. All right, go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, thank you
Push
for
pause on
letting
our
me interrupt.
meeting, just so anybody else, it doesn't show, but just right now, push pause, so you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I was on the phone 3 minutes before, so just so you know, I wasn't late. And I'm going to take 1 minute and thank you for coming to the meeting tomorrow night, 5:30 at the Wilson. It's the final public meeting, so there have been 2. This will be our 3rd. Final report is coming out later. Please come learn about the 3 scenarios that will be reported on in the report. And one of them is create a county. And I know, Johnny, that was one thing that you specifically said, make sure West Yellowstone's included. So 5:30, the Wilson. I'm flying in this afternoon because I'm not there right now, obviously, and I'll hope to see you there. Thank you for letting me interrupt, and technology is interesting, isn't it?
Thanks for your patience. Good
Okay.
luck tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, so we're back to no one else, right on?
Nope.
Okay.
Not yet.
We're back to Terry?
Yep.
Talking about.
Water and sewer
Water.
operations, yeah.
Okay.
So both of those, both the water and the sewer total operations came in slightly under budget. Our numbers for the total expenses were basically right at $7,584,096 were booked on this report. We budgeted $7,593,000. So we're right there. We got a $9,000 cushion right now. I expect that that's going to be eaten up with a few minor adjustments. We've got bills that haven't been booked yet that put into the finances, as well as some of the assets that the last assets we put in at the end of the year. Will be a little bit of an adjustment to the depreciation expense. So I expect this to be right on what our budget was last year. We hit it.
That 90,000 in the pond maintenance inspections. Is that related to the cleanup?
Yeah, just yes.
So that was all financed by the First Security Bank.
Yeah.
Financing.
Yeah, with that, so we ran into a couple things. There's rock baskets that are on the side for view, apparently. The pond liner, people would not replace the liner with those in. So we're bumping that to next spring because we got to remove those rock baskets. But we're not going to put them back in. So if we have to do some landscaping in the future, then I don't think anybody's really going to complain a whole lot about the view on that side because of how everything else looks. And then we'll have the, it'll all be cleaned out. We'll repair this existing liner if there's any repairs from cleaning out and stuff. Then we'll come back and dig out those rock. So next year with the
Whole new letter.
yeah, it's going to be a double wall with leak detection. So that's the pond that the plant diverts to. If the plant shut down, which we just had, we had some Adams out on vacation. We had an issue over at the substation that didn't drop out of phase; it took a phase up. So generators didn't kick on and stuff. So contractor actually needed that diluted a little bit, so it helped. Probably wasn't as planned as they would to. Nevertheless, that's the update for that.
Those Gabions were, as I recall, a response to community concern. We added those.
Yeah,
They were 10 years ago, you know.
Peters.
One of the former board members did not like looking at the pond on the black liners that lived up in that general vicinity. And so they finished it about 14 years ago.
Okay.
So there are 4 inch, there are KBM baskets about this thick and they're just full of rocks.
Is that a true story?
Yeah. So
It was in response to something. Now we know what it was.
It was 14 years ago. It was a year before my time. That's my little.
They
that's-
finished
that's-
the year, they were finishing
Come on,
the year I started.
Yeah, it was an attempt to
2011.
beautify the ponds.
Gabion never really impressed me as beautifying, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
It covered the black line.
Dick, what were you thinking being on the board approving that? I want to know.
he's over there smirking.
He's going. He's going. I must have missed that meeting.
So I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Mike, one thing I was gonna mention, every time I go through the packet and I think about as treasurer, should I have already had these discussions with Terry? But on the other hand, I think it's helpful to have these discussions in this meeting as opposed to privately because other people looking at it might have some of the same questions. So I think it's a good practice that we kind of beat them up in the meeting.
Yeah.
No problem. It's fun. And he's always got the answers, so that's also a positive. But 2 of the questions that I have, Terry, are, I know in the narrative portion, we talked about the paper loss for the old plant write-off, but you also mentioned there's a prior period adjustment of $1,336,000. What was that for?
Okay, well, in the.
Before we all celebrate.
Yeah, well, no, but it's in the reconciliation process of the new plant. I went through the $58 million that we spent on it, and there were engineering items that should not have been included as part of the plan. Initially, there were a number of engineering projects that I assumed were part of the project. They really were.
So they initially got capitalized.
They got capitalized, and then later on, those same projects were not capitalized. And recognized that there was an error. I waited until the end to clean it.
So it got adjusted from a capitalized asset to expense.
Right.
When was it? When was that?
Early on.
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know.
There,
We can catch up on some of
yeah, I
this.
mean, I could pull up the spreadsheet showing the items, and then there was also the pond, the initial pond clean out of this over here that really shouldn't have been capitalized, and it was capitalized, and that was about 80,000.
It was 2 years ago?
3 years ago.
Two times.
Right in your range.
It was before I got.
3 summers ago. So now does that mean when you talk about the cost of the plant, we gotta reduce our number by million?
No, we're still at
Would be, maybe a good thing.
Don't make us a little higher though.
no, we're still at. And this is the revised number for the plan. We're at 59,982,000, so we're still at $60 million for the plan.
Which includes the 6 million spent as a
Yes, yeah,
jump ahead for phase 2.
Alternate,
yeah,
approved alternate, not an overrun.
right.
Okay. This is great because it must have been me saying in the past, I have been saying 62 million.
We were close.
Okay.
With my.
I just, 60 is easier to remember.
Yeah.
You know, that's all. 60, okay? So for everyone in this room, you're on the bout, it's 60.
Yeah.
And 60 is cost of money, correct?
Mm.
Okay. How much is the cost of money? Just
3.07%.
not a number, just 3.0. Got it. This is all great because it's
That's what we're paying interest.
Yeah.
Costs.
I won't even go any deeper because but we are on that. Since we are on that, can you give us a status report either now or if it's not in the packet on BizRad paying down the balance?
We don't have an answer on that yet, what they're gonna plan to do.
But they
We have
had-
Schedule B that runs out through 2029, where we get approximately 3 million a year through that.
But they notified you at some point, or they discussed it with you that they were gonna pay that off early.
They did, and we've had discussions, we laid out some options where it could be paid down, but not totally paid off, and or they can put it into an escrow account. So they can continue, or the escrow account can continue.
Yeah.
Having the payment, so.
And our,
But we don't know what they're
yeah,
gonna do.
and our hesitation on
Yeah,
paying it all off is that we would then have to put approximately $1.5 million of expense into sewer rate immediately, rather than.
Yeah. the escrow is creative. That's a creative idea. In other
Yeah.
words, it satisfies the commitment. And it also satisfies their needs to get that off the books, correct? That's kind of a creative solution.
Yeah, we had
The reason why they would want to do that is because if they did pay it, all those principles.
Yeah.
We can't.
I get it.
Yeah.
I got it. But just looking for an update. If it's on there later, never mind, but that's a good one to update the board on when I have a feeling Al and I might be attending a couple of BizRad meetings. It's always good to understand what they're talking about.
Well, we didn't know that, well, it came to us after we had done all our financial planning
Okay.
for the next few years, so it kind of caught us off guard.
Okay.
But we got it. I think we're all.
It's a good update.
Yeah. And then with respect to the non-operating revenues, of course, we did pick up an extra $2 million as a result of the Scotch pizza annexation that we didn't anticipate early on, but we did get it. And plant investment fees, we budgeted 250,000. We were at 500,000 on the water side, budgeted 75,000 and we pulled in, actually, let me rephrase that. We budgeted 600,000 for the sewer plant investment fees. We took in approximately 1 million. On the water, we budgeted 250,000. We took in 500,000. So on the non-operating side, we're good. But you factor in our write-offs this year, and we'll have a negative net income, but not because a large portion of it is
Unpaid.
non-cash
Yeah.
expense on a cash flow basis growth. Yeah, so
So my second question.
yeah.
I got it, but
Yeah, is just curious, because I noticed our sewer depreciation was substantially less than what we budgeted for.
Okay. I do have the answer for that.
I know you do.
Yeah. Our auditor last year, with respect to the old plan, we needed to, and there's a write-off, that's part of the write-off, but we wrote that off as of September 1st or July 1st, 2024. We didn't get substantial completion on the new plant until December, which is when the depreciation started on the new plant. As a result, there's a little bit of a time lag in there.
There are fewer months of depreciation.
Yeah.
Because of when the plant started. So
Yeah.
we don't worry that our budget for this year is gonna be off because we'll have a full year of depreciation.
Yes.
And that 1,000,003 adjustment probably, awesome.
No.
Makes sense.
you like the old days of the consent agenda where we just took them, entertained a motion. Anything else for, anything else for Terry here?
Oh, yeah.
Well, why am I feeling so good about
I've got a few
this
more
though
things.
today? It feels good, Al, should I feel good about it?
No, it's good.
This is really good news.
It was more just curiosity, because depreciation is something you can kind of project.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be as
Yep.
variable
Yep.
as like your
Yep.
rates would be if we use more.
It's like an amortization schedule. I mean, you look at it and it says, but you have the gap.
Well, we've covered most of it. The one thing, a year goes so fast. A year ago, I told you that we miss sending the past dues to the county for collection. And here we are, and Amy last week got it all taken care of. Our past dues were turned over to the county for collection, so there's 60 accounts. Well, they're not turned, they were notified of the potential to get turned over to the county for collection, which is part of the UNCA statute that we have to do. Last year we missed that as a result of a number of reasons. This year we did it. 60 accounts were notified. There's $60,000 sitting out there, and that we didn't collect last year, that will be collecting by May of 2026.
May have some, good. Well,
When the second tax bill comes in. So
got it. No, I figured that one when you said it.
yeah,
Because Terry, once it goes to the county, then they automatically deduct it from the ratepayers tax bill.
right. It's added to the tax bill, and when
Yeah.
it comes in, they submit to us. Same way, same process with the debt service for the water and sewer that we had in the past, right, and the water that we currently have. So,
But you notify them first, so they.
yeah, you have to notify them by statute. The past will kind of on the past.
Is there a penalty if they don't?
Well, they've been paying penalty, they've been paying 12% interest a year, so we haven't lost anything. Other than having money back.
Got it. 12%. You want them to have a few of those. It's good money.
Amy held up the post office last week, up for an hour
Yeah,
to get those letters. Because they go out certified.
I'm sure she had two hundred people behind her.
yeah, she was first in line.
You had some people back there.
Yeah.
She got some side actors.
All right.
That's all I have.
Well, this is great.
That's
No, it's
it.
good. Look, it's perfect time, end of the year. Any anomalies? I always ask that. Any anomalies that when you finished out and you were preparing for this meeting, that you said, oh, that didn't go as planned. Yeah, I'm looking at everything in the last year and comparing to this year. Of course, we just went through the payroll and things like that. A lot of good news to reflect on over the last year, how the structure's done. The the policies that have been implemented. So
With respect to the numbers, no, there really isn't anything that's an anomaly that stood out to me, so. It was a year where the budget, we were right on line, and the revenues, the only surprise was the water revenues. Water revenues oftentimes are a little higher than I budget. Sewer, I usually budget right on.
it's tough to celebrate when you're losing money, but on the other side, as long as it's paper money.
Yeah.
So Terry, there were 60 accounts due.
Well, 60 accounts that had past due balances that were beyond the time period.
Okay. Out of how many accounts?
3,100 approximately
Simple.
building accounts.
Okay. And how much? 60,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of the statute, we have 0 uncollected, which is a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Well, we still don't get the money until they actually collect it.
Right.
From tax.
Yeah, so we get in November and in May is when we get the bigger chunks of it. But we get it, I mean, we get a check every. Because people pay it. Or when the property sells, it gets paid. So as a result, we get. Reversing money through the payment.
We're going to be discussing.
Yeah. We send them most of it.
Lose money.
It's about 2%.
Okay. All right, thank you, Terry. Good to hear you. Then I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent.
A second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimous. Thank you. Okay, first read of the ordinance for the fire department. Johnny, take it over.
Yeah, so we've been working on agendas and annexation agreements and stuff. So this was actually, we actually had the agreement still open. I talked to Dustin and they actually changed it in their pre-planning and had actually done everything that we had asked for to be put in the agreement. So we actually had to catch up with the agreement to sign off on the work that they've done. But their board meeting is after ours, so I don't have the agreement today because we got it after their last board meeting. So like Spanish Peaks, we'll do the first read and then next board meeting, I will have the agreement in which we will pass that and then do the second read of the annexation. So the agreement basically says that when the line is put in for reuse going back to the canyon, that the fire department will connect to that reuse line to use for training purposes on their training ground at the fire station. So, and then they'll put in infrastructure. They'll have a tank there so they can bring in tanker trucks to fill up for wildland firefighting. And then at some later date, when we grow our reuse infrastructure, they'll be able to connect to the backside of that to take it on down into Coldstone to help feed reuse application and fire suppression down in Coldstone. So
A win-win.
it is. It was really good.
And after a little outburst this weekend in Porcupine, fire, imagine saying no to the fire district right now. That's great. Thanks for that. Now, let's see, that is a business action item. So we have to take a vote on that to keep moving forward. Discussion on it before we.
Yeah, just our litmus for annexation, which we don't take lightly, is generally some type of benefit to the district and other ratepayers. This proposal seems to satisfy that.
Yep, we're using recaptured SFEs for this fire station.
I ask you every meeting. Are we getting close to figuring out how many we've taken back?
We're getting close.
How many are in that pool?
I'm not entirely sure. Miss Amy's not here and I don't.
Why, right.
They're
About 80 here.
There was some SFE credits in the monthly balance there.
I think,
Yeah, 0.01s or something like
I can remember the ones that got kicked back. A lot of it will be memory. I don't think Ron was tracking at the time. But it'd be good to know what those are moving forward.
How many SFEs are part of this annexation?
This one's 3. It's small.
It's adjacent to the district as well.
Yeah,
Just given those one.
compliance with our criteria.
It is actually the end of the infrastructure on that side of the highway, so we don't have anything past that. Don't plan on anything going past that.
Going south.
Yeah, going south.
They connect to Riverview.
Yes, so we did a main extension coming down from the fire hydrant and then they will discharge into the same lift station. That is over for
Riverview. Do they have to lift to get to Riverview?
No,
Oh,
no, they're gravity.
Oh,
great.
I don't think they have an internal.
seems like they're downhill though. It's a good
Yeah, it
question.
does seem.
They could have an internal lift station, but there's no external. lift station.
Good questions. Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of ordinance 25-03.
Make a motion to approve. Ordinance 25-03.
Second, Michael Sinski. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried unanimous.
Do we have somebody reading for something?
No, that's just file. I just don't want to click on it and inadvertently post something.
Oh no, Becky at the bottom.
Oh, wait.
She wanted to pop in virtually.
She left. Did she left? I didn't even realize she left. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, on to committee. Rather than say committee reports, Johnny, if you did a great job giving us a heads up in the last month, say, hey, be thinking about what you want, you got a proposal to limit. And I just open up saying, I think the committees have served a purpose on making meetings more efficient and saving time from everybody having to go through everything. But they do have a life from time to time, and we have a few that have a life. Best point Johnny brought up was I didn't realize Rob was still active, but when those seats retire, yeah, you can only have 2 people. We've had 3 on a few of them, so you have to be careful. So good proactive discussion.
And in the future, as I continue to work on it, committee reports, by alignment with everything, we'll actually have minutes and stuff, so our report will be submitted. So will depend on the board whether or not they want to actually hear those committee reports like our other reports or just quick us outside major stuff. But we will have that stuff on board packet. So what you see in this is our 4 committees. And in the email that I sent you back in whatever it was, about a month ago or so.
June 23rd.
Thank you. These committees, so we will start our budget process in December internally. The documents will be released. Superintendents work on project sheets throughout the year. We'll meet with them in January. And so if there is any recommended changes to the policies and benefits, that committee will meet in January. I only plan on 1 meeting unless we do have an update, and then we can get feedback, and then it might go into 2. But that is a relatively quick committee. The budget and CIP committee, we will meet with staff internally to go over other departments in January. So the first meeting for the budget and CIP will be in February. It will be February, March, and April, with the proposal coming out in either April or May for adoption in June, because we have to give, we don't have to give a public notice on the budget, but just to give everybody time and review if they want to comment and stuff. But we do have to give public notice if we increase the rates over 5%, which we're not anticipating to have to do in this next budget cycle, 26, but that could change. We did approve a 2-year rate this last cycle, but with the new information we've gotten, we're still waiting to see how that could change stuff. And so with the budget and CIP, you have three legs. You have the budget, you have the rates, and Ryan will talk to later. Our investment charges. We're actually going to separate that out from the rates and its own standalone ordinance. Because you could change those and not change the rates, not change those, depending on how development and budget and all that goes. So we will talk about that here in our whole business. And then the performance reviews, this is the only committee that has to have the board president on it, and that is by our policy and procedure. It went really well this last time, and that is going to be May, June. We done the evaluations in May, met at the very beginning of June, reviewed all those, signed off on those. The component that we did decide on this last year is the cost of living, the inflationary, not pulling until April, so you won't see that until May. So we won't actually have that number until May. We'll estimate where it's at for budget purposes, but since the budget's not approved until June, we'll have that number in May. And then you have the rating for the performance evaluations. So it all ties in. That's when mine will be done with the board. It's in May, June, and then the review of the staff. So that is the only one that has to have the board president on.
And in your summary, we really still need flat iron, correct?
Yeah, so in the special committees, that's what
Okay.
related to. Those are longer term, longer running. So we have a joint committee with the Gouts and Canning. I mean, that committee has been around for a while. So I call those special committees because that's for a special purpose. And could meet monthly over a longer period of time until that project's done. Finishing then up the flat iron, which hopefully Mike's not paying attention. I do have the draft back, so we'll be getting that over to you guys to review here shortly. So close that one out, but the other one, with us changing direction and actually moving and putting all of our effort into the beneficial reuse management plan. Once I get that to a point, I'll probably ask for a special committee in that for review and feedback before we take that to DEQ for approval. So that way everybody knows what we're presenting and what we're going to be talking about community outreach and as that moves forward. But it's still internal with staff and partners and working with the fire department. The crux of that, basically, you're going to have a third infrastructure, which is the reuse, with emphasis on fire suppression and fire control and strategic replacement. You'll have a place of use for that. You'll have a model for it, and you'll also have a master plan for it. That'll all be part of the reuse management plan. And a couple other nuances on what we want to do to control quality of that, because then we will have points of diversion. So we will control it to a certain point, and once it passes a meter, or like with YC, once it comes out of the pipe, hits the pond, it's out of our control and no longer our liability. So
It's going to be an important committee.
it will be a very
Your retooling agreements, is that your approach to it?
yes.
Anytime you retool, I mean, it gets complicated.
It does, and everything for us will be done by ordinance or resolution, so we won't have these standalone agreements that are hanging out there that will be tied, because that's how we're supposed to operate.
That reuse, is different right now. It could be claimed to be different for YC, different for a flat iron or Spanish Peaks and then Boyne, and then you have reuse over at the park.
Yep, and then irrigation and
Chain of responsibility. It's important.
be complex, complicated plan, just like everything else. those are the committees that I got so far. So if you wanted to pick and choose, that's what we'll have here in the next few months, started off. So two for each. I just need one other for the performance review because Brian has already volunteered to that committee. As board president. So we'll start with policy and benefits. That's probably the easiest one. We have been talking to the lady about external HR, and she's actually reviewing all the stuff. Gave us a lot of kudos for a lot of stuff being done already. So she said it should make life really easy for her.
You start off saying who's on it right now? Who's officially on policy and benefits?
Policy and benefits was Mike and Al. If I remember, I did not actually print that off. I think that you were the only two on policy and benefits, and then you roll over into budget CIP, which you got added to that. And then performance was basically these three committees was Brian, Al, and Mike. I just rolled them over into the next page, one from the other. But there's no issue with them being separated except for if you're in the budget CIP. So you'll have some conversation too. Performance review.
And these aren't monthly committees.
No, it's a very short window. It'll really be, the budget is the February, March, and April. Those will be monthly meetings. Could go into May, but usually we did really get working on all that stuff. And then the performance reviews is this one meeting in June.
Well, maybe I'll throw my name out for one of them. I think with Terry retiring and potentially still being involved, but it seems to me it'd make the most sense for me to be in the budget CIP group next year.
I agree.
And maintain some of that consistency.
Yeah.
And I had, prior to our reorganization, when you came on, Johnny, I was on the budget and CIP committee with Mike, Duke and Ron. So I would just
One is completely different.
yeah, definitely, yeah. I would throw my hat in the ring
I mean,
for
projects
that.
we turned on this last one over 25, I think, for the CIP.
So budget and CIP, you have two.
Yep.
Two board members stepping up for those.
Okay.
All right.
Peter.
Since they're probably like I was coming off that, let me go on policy.
Okay.
Policy and benefits.
You want
And you probably want to read us down.
Almost, yeah.
Okay.
That's a good one for especially
I can dig.
treasurer role. That's
Yeah.
these will end up dovetailing. Okay.
And then for balance, it would make sense for Jared to be on performance review with you, and then we have 2 members per essential committee.
Because you like them to volunteer for it.
Then you got.
Well, that's what I've done to Alan. I'm trying to make
Haven't
it.
missed the meeting since.
Jared, maybe it'll work with Jared. You know, maybe you'll never miss a meeting again.
Jared is on the Canadian committee too. So. But this is probably.
It's great to have these two core out of the way. And there will be some restructuring. I mean, we're gonna be dovetailing more. Okay, good job updating us. Maybe we leave that open until, if it is Jared.
Yeah, we'll ask him next meeting if he wants to. Maybe determine on the performance. review.
We have 2 other special.
We have Flatiron and
Canyon.
Canyon, and we already know who is on that. So we got Al and Ryan and Jared on the Canyon, and then you, Brian.
Mike.
Can we keep 3 on those?
You can, because that was why I was asking about Schwab.
Oh,
And we're still fine on that.
Until end of next
Why
year.
not do it while we can?
Yeah, until the next year. That makes sense.
As long as you guys are comfortable, it's like that's working well. Yeah. Okay, good. That was a good summary you gave us too, is and before you sent out a couple weeks ago, I think, so you could be prepped to walk in. Okay. We get that covered, check the box. We're on old business, legal update. give your president a ton of chatter in the last week, a whole lot of, I mean, 7 days a week of legal and a lot of it to celebrate, but if you want to go ahead, Johnny, and share some of the points from the call with Susan.
So if you saw in the board packet, and then also from the link from the story that was sent to Judge Moore, handed down a ruling and some sanctions on
Judge Morris, right?
Judge Morris.
Yeah, okay, I just want to make sure.
Call them 3 different names and
That's okay.
haven't got it. And put some sanctions on Cottonwood. And Jack followed up with the story, which I thought was really nice and done and getting that out there. We did get word, of course, he's filing an appeal on it, but it's we expected to stand. So with those sanctions, hopefully, we can get back to some normal business and get this chapter closed. So
Where's that appeal to? Or which part of the that already vacated?
And
And this time, he precluded them from filing additional.
yeah, that's part of the sanction that he could not file any more lawsuits without court.
and did he file an appeal or did we've only heard word that?
No, he filed the appeal.
Filed it within 24 hours.
Yeah, we got that.
I think it was out that day, actually. We got it the next day. I was like, he must have just been sitting there ready to push send.
So any more legal fees related to that appeal?
It's all PR.
For
him.
He loved it, didn't, because that's all in the court. So they'll be, they're reviewed whether they accept it. If they do accept it, then, additional fees because we'll have.
Sure.
You have the Boeing fees piling up and I think, I talked to Susan, and I actually had her on yesterday, we've been on a few things and you can cover those, but this in particular. I'd like to see her give us an update if we had a closed session next month on some of these strategies moving forward on this. It's a whole new chapter. We can get an update on the Boeing situation, if it changes anything. It's good for us to track the Boeing one, the whole way along. There's things going on with that. And I don't think we need Roushway. But I think it would be good to get a closed session, maybe even monthly until we have the trial scheduled November 17th.
Did we get our 7,500 yet?
Not yet.
Put that in the budget here.
I'm supposed to let Mr. Ashway know since we do receive it.
Was Cash App?
I would like to know where the heck does 7,500 come
Yeah, that was,
from? I mean,
but that was
everybody's saying the same thing to me. Go, nice article. How did 3 million turn into 7,500?
That check's gonna bounce so high.
Did the judge pull some line item out of the legal fees or?
No explanation at all.
I
I
think
think.
that's how we got it.
It's a de minimis cost involved in the suit. The only cost that would ever be recovered.
Okay.
Didn't that happen last time too?
Yeah.
Took it out of his checking account. Okay. Now said, it's good. It's a good time for us to track the next round. Make sure that we.
The RICO cases there's some discussion that is that I read, will those get thrown out now or how does that shake out?
That's where we got to get.
It sure makes sense that they will, and again, we have costs in that with Ron and so on. That's why we need an update and decide what our next steps are, but I can't imagine the RICO, which you said you provided this, you perjured yourself with this, and this says you didn't perjure yourself.
Yeah.
How could you go there?
I didn't know if they were linked together somehow or
Yeah.
the ruling, this last ruling kind of helps. with that.
Be tough to try a case saying it was perjury when the last judge threw it out.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. So,
Yeah.
And by the way, if you read the article, this quotes back the paperwork. It's all good news. This was the plan. So
Who would give Jack the push right there?
He texted me, I got notification of the ruling from Roushway Thursday, and I think Jack texted me Friday night. Asking for comment or to prepare comment for the story, so I think once that, there's a lot of eyes on it, so I think once that ruling went out.
I might have slipped in a little comment in our softball game.
Thank you.
He's on our team.
He actually said, and it, just so everybody knows, he just said, hey, I learned a lot today in May, and you notice that he quoted the May meeting. And the May meeting was about, I think he really came to understand the idea that the legal fees were $3 million, number one, and that you can't recoup legal fees in this. And he hit that in May, and during the meeting, he walked over when people were just milling around and said, I just want to understand this is correct because we need to cover this. You know, he said this is something that people in the community. So that just shows you how important the meetings are. Once he's been a dog in a bone with that sense. Yeah, and it's an important thing in the community.
And from my perspective, I've, watching reaction to some of this on social media, things, a lot of it was positive.
Yeah.
But I also think it reinforced the discussion we had at the retreat about needing to have PR communicating what we're doing, because it was just as excited as I was that some people understood it, I was just as surprised that other people in our community, their reaction tells me that they don't really understand what's being done here. And I'm not blaming us for that fully, but I think we can be a part of getting that communication out there. I'm not naive enough to believe that everyone, once they get the information, are going to come to the same conclusion, because some people want an outcome already, or they're looking for reasons to support their outcome. But I think this is another area. So I think I want to make sure we keep the ball moving in that direction, because it's so important. We've got such a great story to tell. Let's find better ways to make sure we're getting it out there.
Especially when you're up against a pretty heavy PR machine. That's basically, that's their battle is more in the PR world than it is really in the courts.
I can't help but wonder if some of the people who are helping fund this might think differently if they knew the truth.
Right.
Dick?
Well, I was laying on the deck, looking at the bay. I was reading Outdoor Bozeman.
Yeah.
And there was a blurb in there praising Meyer.
Did it have the wanted poster?
They didn't.
That was a critical component to this, by the way, on the mediation.
But that'd be one place
That went to the judge.
we could consider a letter to the editor. It may be counterproductive, but it might be good. And we'd have to think of it.
I think it's great.
What was the wanted poster?
He had a wanted poster of wanted something the district and big step. So he had a wanted poster. That was just
pursuing.
Yeah.
Yellowstone Club, big sky.
literally a wanted poster. So that went back and forth within the legal committee and the judge and so on. And there was a heading on his website that said, donate, help me, quote, paraphrasing, sue the bastards. That's been taken down, but these things were all a part of this package that said, this is what we're dealing with. And it became so unreasonable that I think it was helpful. But I agree, Dick, and now you're touching on something that I was going to hit maybe a little later on this, but look, the retreat was very productive, and we all agreed on community outreach. Johnny, even, and Amy and Lindsay have a title for it now. And we gave direction to implement this. Timing couldn't be better, not just for this lawsuit. I mean, you think about what we're going to share. This chapter in the lawsuit, the productivity we've had over the last year, the programs we have, the education component, we're doing it today. We have Scott and Ryan up here. We got to educate people what they're paying for and what's going on with this. I'm not going to use the term impact fee, because Ryan will correct me in 2 minutes. But the fees, people need to understand this when they come in and do this. But wait a minute, I've been paying this forever. And other entities in the community, there isn't any better timing than right now to implement with Johnny. Give us the acronym again on it.
Community outreach and education.
Thought I had corum. I was saying corum. No, I don't know what it is, but it's just great timing. And I think we've always been just in the trenches, and we haven't done PR campaigns. I think it's time to at least implement this. Remember, we talked about doing a district corner in the paper, whether it's once or twice a month, whatever it is, it's time. We have a lot to share. So
Kind of better now than it would have been previously with this guy coming to an end as well. More difficult to get impressive when it's still live.
Yeah. It will be great to see what impact this has on the RICO, as you said, in the Boeing suit. I mean, this is the fundamental foundation of that.
Yep.
And Peter's not here, but Peter did a great job on the die test over here, and man, the data, and he documented everything, and he was all over it. And at the time, we weren't taking it as seriously because it had paused. We said, oh, smoking gun right here. But now that I'm going back to the Boeing case, I'm involved in that, I'm looking at it going, day after day, it was, well, do we button up the hole? No, we leave that hole open. Do we really need to do this in December? Yeah, we need to do it in December. We're not tore up the golf course, what the hell? But we did it, and that was a lot of work. Hopefully it pays dividends in the Boeing suit in the Chapel Spring. Lot to share with the community. Don't want to overwhelm. I'd probably lay off that 5th grade term, but we treat them like a 5th grader. No, but I mean, we just need to give everybody small digestible chunks. And that die test is something that, as things go along, won't have a pre-trial, but that's going to be something we say, hey, the foundation of that suit was this, and this is what the facts were.
So we've talked a lot about community outreach. But all we're doing is talking about, we don't have any focal point on the board, on the district, to look at opportunities to do it. And I don't know where that would be most appropriate.
Well, we talked about, remember, Dick, talked about, of course, Explore Big Sky. We have so much support. And I was going to say the focal point just left the room for a second on some of this. The 2 focal points I see is Amy and
Amy and I are actually working on that. We've actually worked with Treas on some of that. I have preliminary bones, so like district coroner, whether we write a piece or we go do some spotlights on the local podcast or whatever. But one of the biggest caveats is to have an annual open house public meeting. So we would have a quorum, so it would be an evening meeting where I've dubbed it the state of the district, to where we can have one-on-one conversations with the community, not be tied to, this event or community week or whatever. It's a standalone 2-hour meeting that we get to have with the public to say, here's, where we're going, here's the plans, here's what the future looks like, and give them opportunity to engage us, talk along with our quarterly updates or newsletters or how we do it. So
we had a good core though of this. You just had a great one, that Bozeman publication. Troy's brought that up to me a few different times and said, hey, this guy's hitting this and that. That's how the wanted poster came out. We used it effectively. I've had ideas, and I think we have a couple of great opportunities as well. A, Explore Big Sky is the best vehicle. B, we have a new director. Sounds like a great leader in Holly over at the BSOA. And it's interesting. We've all looked at ways where we can dovetail in the community and support each other. And they want to have a message. They're looking for a message for their members, for their OA. And they have very strong communication going right now. They're doing a much better job with their communication.
Go back to that.
Susan Scott is no longer the executive director. It's Holly, how do you?
Coltea.
What is it?
Coltea.
Coltea. Seems like a great gal. Yeah, Mike, you and I ran into her having coffee one day. And I think we have a really good opportunity over there. In fact, I was going to stop over. Well, I had a nice shirt on today and say, hey, welcome, and say that.
She doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, but I didn't want to make it sound like I've known her forever. I did know her for 2 hours at Alice, so he can reinforce that. She's a great gal, and I mean, they have a great outreach, 2,500 members, and they are communicating frequently. I know it as a BSOA member. So that one could have a really strong impact as they ramp up their community outreach. And I don't think we need to push it. We need to say, hey, all of your members, pretty much 99%, are in the district. So why wouldn't you update them on what they're paying for, what they're doing? And we make sure that we cross-pollinate those.
we can do a monthly press release, and we're also going to.
Where did Holly come from?
They were in Nashville before they moved here, but they've been here for a couple years now.
Yeah, it's not for a couple of years, a couple of kids in school.
Okay.
She's head of the PTO, you guys would know better what it is than I.
Yeah, she found that too.
See, the thing, I look at something like that outside Bozeman, a letter to the editor might be good, but then they take the letters to editor and make snide comments in the bottom too, so you gotta have a way, you know, do you stick them in the eye or?
Maybe you pay for a notice. I just think we have to look at I mean, that's surgical. You go in where he's taking his shot. We look at where the shots are coming in. You gotta rebuttal to some of these things at sometimes. Again, if his response was, this is going as planned, I mean, you know, I don't know if we take that too seriously. You know,
Seen that outside Bozeman thing? I'll get it. to you.
Isn't
Yeah.
that Eddie Garcia?
I looked at a bunch of,
Isn't that Corinne Garcia's?
oh, is it? Mike Garcia's,
Eddie,
really?
Eddie Garcia.
I didn't know that.
What,
I think it is.
outside Bozeman?
Yeah. I think these are great examples.
The editor's Mike England.
Yeah. I think he works for Corinne. I think. Once he bought it.
I think the key is we gotta cast a wide net.
Yeah.
And there's no silver bullet first, but like I said, with fresh leadership over at the BSOA, we have an opportunity. That's a great response. We did send out, how many entities did I send to you links for? There's a
page worth.
8 or 10 links saying, please. And I did it pretty much in preparation for the next suit from a Boyne position, you know, from that we're having to absorb. But basically to these publications, so the Missoulian got it, Great Falls and everybody got it. And I had heard that Missoula was going to pick it up. They reached out to the legal firm. But we just got to start throwing that net out there.
Another one is the Arts Council of Big Sky is gonna have a radio station.
Yeah.
In the next.
No
couple of
kidding.
years. And we could get on there and.
Get a note on the list
there.
because you are going to be the point.
And be on the radio.
There's a lot of great things in different areas to share.
Well, we need to embrace social media in a positive way as a tool, because that's where a lot of people are getting their news. Like it or not, that's.
Yeah.
what's
Well,
happening.
we have the uniqueness up here, right? We don't have, you know, a local radio station or news station, you know, working for cities and stuff. We'd always have the media come to the board meetings or the council meetings, and we also had press releases where they come in and we, you know, have points of discussion. So we have to go create that. I don't know if you remember early on, I had mentioned something about podcasts and stuff, and I'm sure you're like, nobody's gonna listen to that. And here we are. So yeah, the radio station with the Arts Council, there's a local podcast, Marmon or something.
Yeah.
Corey Harmon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's
Just like Joe.
just trying to find those avenues, but also our website. Whether we put out a monthly publication or whatever. I'd have to dig back into some of my marketing education when I was in school, but just trying to find people to help us put that narrative together. Takes a little time, but.
Well, send things right into Johnny and Amy and Lindsay and say, hey, these are some ideas, but I think we need to activate this. We've talked about it, and maybe prioritize it at the retreat. And this is great, just timing so good. Okay,
SARS lease is done now that the Northwest Energy is done. We've got all the legal realignments and all that stuff, so we're able to get that knocked off. I got that in the inbox, so we'll get that over to them to send off. It's a renewal. With that, other than the Canyon, which Scott and Mace won't be on, but he's got a replacement. I haven't seen him log in yet. They're moving along with that, and so we've got some nuances still with the interlocal agreement. So are trying to get through the RFPs and stuff going out and touch base with that. So really legally, that's all we've got. Everything is getting to the finish line, but we haven't quite got to the finish line yet, but we will.
we have the project update, but we have Ryan that.
We have
Ryan
Ryan,
on the
yeah.
slideshow.
Is the water tank exchange finished?
The land for, yeah, all that
Done.
done.
That's where the SAR came in. SAR was kind of a hanging chair.
Nice job on that.
Yeah,
It took a lot of work.
yeah, it's great. Yeah.
After all the work.
Yeah.
Oh, you were in the trenches for BSOA. God, why didn't we wait a couple of years?
Could take in 8-10 years like the SOA.
On the search and rescue lease, we're extending it 10 years from now.
Yeah, we're doing a renewal, yeah, which is. With all.
Yeah, that hadn't expired, but we had talked about
Yeah.
rather than just
Yep.
updating the language and then having to extend it 4 years or whatever it was gonna expire.
Yeah.
Just extending it 10
Are
years.
they
from now.
putting a pad in over there, helicopter pad?
So the helipad used to be there, probably tore it up a little bit with the construction and, we actually made it a little bigger when we restored it, so.
So there is, it's,
Yeah, there is a pad there and then we've got a little bit of area for, it's a landing pad, so. We got a storage pad up there too. Yeah, right below, so.
Again, is Ryan gonna go
Yep.
through his, the one thing I would say the board, in fact, because I got it, and I'm gonna make it a separate file, just really easy and accessible, and we can build on that. Packet's grown again, 129 today, but what good stuff? Oh, yeah, the good stuff, only the good stuff. But what Ryan puts together, when I'm not shuffling the agenda,
Yeah.
I put this as a little separate tab that you can look at once in a while because the questions that are coming up, and it's a great presentation, and I know Johnny had a lot of input with it, but it's so tight that you go, oh, I didn't get a few things in there. And-
Yeah, it's a little rough. Scott's update will be really quick.
Yeah, you'll stay on track with your agenda, but-
On Scott, so, and I don't have his number to text him, but Mace is out, so. You wanna give your update real quick?
Sure. Can you all hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay. Yeah, I can make mine pretty quick because knock on wood, things are going really well. RCI wrapped up the basin leak testing on the new phase 2 stuff, so that's all tightened up and ready to go. They're basically done. They've got a little bit of asphalt repair and some valve box adjustments and things, but for all practical purposes, their punch list is done. So I'll work with Adam, and Zach's working with Adam to make sure Adam believes it's also done. We've had some interesting happenings with Northwestern Energy. We got a 550 volt amp surge last month. 480 is what we're supposed to get. That knocked out service to the plant overnight. We recovered, or helped Adam recover, and then we've had a couple of subsequent breaker gremlins since then on the headworks, particularly, that's knocked out power to the headworks MCC. So we're working through that, and believe have turned that completely down at this point. So just being aware that happened, and we're documenting everything. Adam's documenting everything, so that if we continue to see gremlins and ghosts out there electrically, we may need to sit down with Northwestern Energy. It was apparently a failure of a piece at their substation down the road, and they promised they have that fixed and operating correctly now. Pond 2 clean out is going well. Adam had a update on that in his report, so I won't recover that. It's leading to a little more wastewater strength load to the plant, but he's working through it and we're helping him. Centrifuge procurement, our team went down there. Josh and Zach went down with Adam and Johnny and working on both a long-term and a short-term improvement plan for dewatering. It's in the works. Reuse pumping, we are working on finalizing a cost balance or a cost comparison between the various reuse locations for the board that we could present next month. Ryan Thompson's he got the electrical bills from your team to basically calibrate his model, make sure it's predicting costs correctly. Canyon, the RFQ is out. Its responses are due Wednesday, and we'll sit down. Well, I'm not on that selection committee, but David Twan from AE2S is work through selection with that team, make a recommendation, and have the general contractor construction manager on board for only for pre-construction services, nothing on construction. That'll be, pending future funding availability for construction. So we'll just continue to work on finalizing design with that general contractor, construction manager, and getting everybody a better guaranteed maximum price for the project. Geotech's done. It was a above and beyond geotech effort, given the sensitivity and Department of Transportation's concerns over 64 in particular. Long story short, nothing came out of that geotech investigation that was scary or unusual. So we believe the project can be built. Water master plan, working through your risk assessment data you provided, and have a workshop later this month to look at that, update that. That's going well. Rate study, I'll defer to Ryan here in a minute. I'll just go ahead and finish my update and come back. Salinity reduction, we have an informational document speaking about public outreach that we can use in all sorts of ways. We just need to your all's point, pick a path or pick a channel to hit with the public. That's probably the most difficult part of public outreach. We are certainly ready to help with any of that. I would share that what I tend to see work with other utilities the best is it's just a mindset where you share a lot of your regular news on some channel or a bunch of channels regularly, and so it just becomes a habit of hey, we're cleaning out pond 2 so that we can eventually replace the liners, and the good things that you're doing just become regular outreaches. It's work. It's a lot of work for somebody to keep doing that, but I think that's the best approach. Flatiron, we have a draft scope and fee that's kind of been, I think, paused for the time being. Sweetgrass, we're working on scope and fee to help bring that tank design to fruition at least. Reuse management stakeholder workshop on June 2nd. We continue to just treat that as a living document and update it. That's about it. Any questions? Table in the back of my letters up to date in terms of budgets and progress. One thing I would note in there is the Big Sky reuse booster pumping improvements. So that's the mid-mountain booster station. That had already been put in pause for budgetary reasons, but now that Adam's getting more flow out of YC1, it really kind of kicks the can on that when that project would become absolutely necessary further down the road. And we had $387,000 in the budget, our budget with you for final design that we could probably wipe off the books for now. And I don't know if Terry, if that's in your books and being reserved, because my point there being
No, it's not, Scott, but it's probably something we should talk about and fold that under the reuse management plan.
okay.
Because it's still part of that master plan, what we're wanting to do, so.
Okay. Yeah, because we're not gonna spend that, is where I'm going with that. All other budgets in doing fine, good shape, other than Ryan's, but I'll let with that turn the mic over to Ryan to talk about the Pick Sick and
Yeah.
impact fees and all that fun stuff.
Hey, Scott, real quick, did we, or did you guys resolve that pipe routing issue? Coming up and down the spur road, single trench, dual trench, that issue that was presenting itself?
Canyon,
Canyon,
we got a variance for that from DEQ. Might have been reported on in our subcommittee meeting.
to put both pipelines in one trench.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, DEQ signed off on that and approved it.
That's big.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
It's
finally came
simple
around.
detail, it's very
It's
expensive.
huge.
yeah,
Only took 8 months and 3 swings at them.
So that's confirmed.
yeah, from DEQ. Yeah, we have that variance from them.
No,
So,
Yeah, and I think honestly, I think MDT was kind of hoping that DEQ would shoot that down and then MDT would be saved from having to be the last opposition really. I mean, and it's not formal opposition, it's just they look at that pipeline construction along 64 and don't like it, of course, right? It's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be controversial with traffic and going to get a lot of complaints and it's not easy, but it removed one of the technical hurdles that they were pointing to as one more reason to discourage us from trying to do the project.
Okay, that's big news.
right.
Thank
Before
you.
Thanks, Doug.
Ryan jumps in and gives you all the nitty gritty. So as I was alluding to earlier, we're to the point, we have the budget. We built a CIP, a standalone document, and pulled everything out of BizRad's master CIP that they collected a year or so ago. So we can be in alignment, and if you remember at the end of our CIP, we have funding sources and how that all goes. So how that ties into, we did the rates to cover operational costs, you have your fixed and your variable. And then we've had Pick Sick for years. So plant investment charge and system investment charge, what it actually is, in terms that we can't really use, is impact fees on water and sewer infrastructure. So to put it in really simple layman's terms, when you add to the system, you have to improve the existing system to handle the growth. So a good example is Cold Smoke is adding to the system. So they got funding to put infrastructure in the ground. What they did not get is infrastructure funding to pay for the Pick Six that we have to charge to upgrade the existing system to handle the additional stuff. And the reason why I say that is because we just did our risk assessment and we have an hour in Sweetgrass if we open up a hydrant that is drained in an hour. Well, that does not meet system demands. It does not meet fire force. So we have to put that in the CIP to upgrade the tanks and increase our capacity for storage and whatnot in the infrastructure. So anytime you add to it, we're at the original design of the original system, and you've got to grow. And so we've grown, and so now we've got to invest into the existing infrastructure to increase the capacity of the growth. Ryan's going to get into the nitty gritty because we've had some conversations outside of us and even in our meetings where it is being presumed that we are double dipping into BizRad funding. We are not. BizRad's funding was accounted for with the plant, the 27 million that they invested. I pulled going all the way back to the first plant that was done. They've invested in BizRad we have an interlocal agreement signed in '96, but BizRad was started to help with the infrastructure. We were in the building moratorium and getting the funding and stuff. So we have our general populace of 3,500 residents. We see an annual visitor of over 300,000, which puts you at a daily visitor or residential populace of almost 10,000 a day. So we're a small town that operates or can operate in a bigger capacity, and we have to meet that demand when it comes in. And if we don't, then we're gonna have issues. We can point out a half a dozen of them. You got Jasper, you got Maui, you've got Palisades, where the system has been overwhelmed due to wildfires and didn't have water to fight. So since I've been here, we've changed the narrative that you design fire flows and pressures, looking for those hot areas, working with the fire departments. ISO ratings, which is insurance. Base guy itself is a 4x4. Destin and I feel we can get that to a 2, which means you get a better service rating, which means you can get lower homeowners insurance. Down in your neck of the woods, down there by the school, that's a 9. Where some places they can't even get homeowners insurance because it's just not affordable. So that's the crux of the reuse master plan, putting all these charges together. Ryan's going to give you the math because we're going to recommend increasing those amounts to help with some of our funding and going into the CIP. But I want to make it clear that it has already accounted for BizRad's funding for the plant. But this is charges for us to upgrade the infrastructure, and it's charged with new construction and remodel, and we don't always capture it on the remodel because when we do the audit, either they're at or a little bit less, and then if they do go over, then they have to pay that difference in the pick sick. And not everybody gets charged pick fees. They may just only get charged sick fees because of certain agreements and other stuff that have been done in the past that we have to honor. So, Ryan?
Got someone in the waiting room. Shane, I think you.
Oh,
Thanks, guys. I wanted to make 2 other comments real quick, if you'll forgive me.
WGM.
Go ahead, sorry. Thanks, Ryan.
No, and then Johnny, while I say that, could you let me share screens?
Yeah.
The first comment, I think Terry kind of hit around the bush, but I just wanted to be very clear when we talk about the resort tax advancing the payments to the district. We did build out our rate plan based on a long-term schedule of payments from resort tax. And so the slow ramp in we see to higher rates 6 years from now is only made possible by a longer draw on the resort tax. And so if they do give it all in one shot without an escrow or something to kind of continue to draw it out, that will mean a lot higher rate increases in the near term. I just wanted to reiterate and be very clear with that to the board and the public, that if resort tax doesn't continue to draw out the schedule, rate increases will need to go a lot higher.
Will the escrow solution resolve that issue?
I don't know the details, but I'm assuming that's why we're talking about the escrow solution.
I mean, it makes sense that it would just replace the periodic payments with a bulk payment. That's all.
Yeah. And so that's a great that there's been flexibility. Once I think resort tax heard about that, they're willing to work through a lot of those nuances, but I think it does, there's a reason that that's real critical, right? The other thing, as you were talking about public outreach, the one thing and forgive me again, but wanted to reiterate is that even with us at AA2S, I find that so often what we find as normal and routine to the general public is new and interesting or unique. And so when you are making, those public statements frequently like Scott does, it might still feel routine, but there's a lot of people that don't have any idea what we do, either running a district or on the back end on the engineering side, right? And so just remember that there's a lot of good information that can come from just talking about your daily life so that people learn what happens behind the scenes. With that, what I was hoping to cover today is more of a high level review and I'm hoping you're seeing the right screen. I'm not on my normal computer today. But just on how the revenue for the district works, where we get it, just so we can kind of set the context, because we're going to be coming back. The plan is next month with updates to the pick and sick. But I think this distinction right here between the two main revenue streams that any real utility has is critical. We have rates and fees, and then we have investment and connection charges. Sometimes, depending on your utility, I think a lot of impact fees are the normal, or system development fees, right, are the normal ones we think of there. But on the rates and fees, the real basis there is that we're looking at operating costs, those year-to-year costs that, okay, this is how you sustain a district and keep the lights on, keep the water being treated and pumped from day in and day out. And we work hard to on that rates and fees to make sure that they actually are representative of the pieces that are those ongoing costs, right? Sometimes those will also have to cover debt service, like we're talking with on the plant. And that's where I think too, talking about investment and connection charges is pretty critical too. So those are designed around the capital of the plant, of your system, sorry. What assets do you have in place that are there to provide the pumping, the storage, the treatment, right? What funds have you collected through rates and fees to pay for those types of assets? And then the third one is really what are the projects that are needed to continue serving new connections that are coming online? On the rates and fees side, you again approved them last month, I think it was, but really two types, major ones, the fixed quarterly and the volumetric. We like to target really those administrative overhead fixed costs that don't change no matter how much water is pumped or wastewater is treated. In addition, as Johnny mentioned, you are highly seasonal, so we'd like to go a little bit more revenue, and that's that 60% target that we had kind of gotten away from over the last few years, but are really, Terry reiterated that, and that's what you see why we did the rates a little bit differently this year, to make sure that it is pretty stable moving forward. That does include both regular fixed, but also there are fixed quarterly things for that vacant land, and that's something that I think we'll continue to look at and make sure that it is reflective of really that kind of administrative overhead, to make sure that the people within the district are paying appropriately for the services that are available to them, whether and the maintenance of those services that are available to them, whether it's utilized on a daily basis or not. But then the volumetric side, right? That's the other piece. That's how many gallons are metered, and that's really okay. Covering those costs of this is the electricity that it takes to pump. These are or treat the wastewater, things like that. And so that's really how we target those. Just for posterity, included these, but these are your updated rates then that were passed at the June board meeting. On the investment charge or those connection charges, again, these are one-time fees, okay, that are there to growth pays for growth is a common term that's used, but it's there to reflect that there are costs associated with making sure that there's either capacity available that that was built out in time to allow people to connect, that until they connect, they're not paying those monthly charges, especially for outside the district, right? They're not paying those monthly charges. They're not paying the cost of actually operating that plant. And so, building that plant until they start coming online and are paying rates, right? And so these are there to make sure that your current and existing users who may have had carrying costs associated with that over the years are actually fairly reimbursed for the cost of that infrastructure. They are not technically impact fees according to Montana state law, but there's some really good practices that came from impact fees in the state legally, but also kind of nationally that we have applied to your investment connection charges over the last 10 years as we've updated them to make sure that they are as fairly as possible and outlined that the level of service or that we're expecting from new users isn't more than old users, that we're not double charging people, that if they're expected to pay debt service on the plant into the future, they're not going to pay it twice by doing a connection charge or an investment charge. And so I think that's one of those things that ever since I've been on board, I've been very, it's been important to me to make sure that we are doing this in a way that really ensures the new users are paying their fair share, but no more than that share. Again, also, I think wanted to include this because it is, over the years, it's been a little confusing, right? What's a PIC, what's a SIC? The PIC is the plant investment charge. It's what it's traditionally been called. That covers the sewer side of your system, that collection system, the treatment assets, disposal, holding that water, and then making sure that you can get rid of it after treatment. The SIC is that system investment charge. That's your water side. So that's the pipes that this district pays for, the wells that you have to either explore, sink. You do have a little bit of that treatment in the meadow when it's needed, but then also storage too. And so all of those assets are the infrastructure that goes into calculating the charge. You'll see this again, I think, next month when I bring it back, but with more of the details on the math. And so I break it into 3 different pieces. Okay, when I look at how do you add together what this charge is, you look at existing capital, the things that you've already paid for, have in place that people will use day one when they connect. Okay, we look at the asset list that Terry's maintained. We make some adjustments to it to make sure that any contributed capital or things that have been paid for by outside users are netted off. This would be resort tax, right? So when you'll see the math next month, you'll see a line item that says this is what resort tax has given to the district, and that's deducted from the value of your assets to make sure that you're not doing that double charging, right? That you're reimbursing your ratepayers, but not outside entities that have contributed that asset. Examples of that existing capital might be your wells or your treatment plant. But said more simply, it's what do we own, okay, today. Your cash equity, on the other, is the second bucket I look at. That's, okay, people have been paying into the system for repair and rehab of those assets, right? You have a nest egg that's used to cover those costs. There's other cash that you have to buffer. And so that's an asset for your system. And new users are going to get the benefit of that. And so they are charged their share of that to kind of bolster that too. So that's the what have people paid. And then the planned capital, that's what Johnny was talking about a little bit before, right? So what new capital do we need to make sure that we continue maintaining that same level of service, that these new users are treated the same as existing users, right? When they do connect, whether you need a new well or a new storage, maybe it's phase 2, right? We look at your CIP and make sure that all of the R&R, those typical things that aren't directly tied to growth, are taken off, but all of the things that would benefit growth, whether it's, again, those wells, phase 2, are included. And so we use values from that to be able to say, okay, this is what we need to be able to continue serving you as a system. One unique thing I think we talked that we implemented 5 years ago maybe, is that contribution for property tax credits. So people within the district who have been paying on your GO bond, just recognizing that in order to make sure we're not double charging them, we do give a credit from that perspective. And that's why you have 2 different levels of PIC and SICs, right? And then again, just reiterating that resort tax, that money is accounted for. We're not double charging anybody. Everybody gets the benefit of resort tax that comes into the system, because the resort tax, again, is generated from the community as a whole. Any questions, I guess, on that? Okay, with that, again, I just wanted, today was a quick overview to, I think, get your thinking about it. So when you do see the math coming back, those detailed dollars and cents next month, it's not quite so slapping you in the face. What am I seeing here? But it gives the context for it, right? We are planning at this point at the Joint Committee doing a more detailed review of those charge calculation. There are some, as we've gone through, especially the last month, Johnny's noted some things that I think we're going to look to clean up and make it more digestible, easy to understand for the community as a whole is what's in it. Some of it's fee structure, the naming, but there's also some things that the state has implemented as far as updates on the impact fee side that I think are reasonable, such as indexing them annually to make sure that they stay up with inflation of the assets. And then following that joint committee, the plan is to bring the pick and sick to the board for review and then approval or whatever next steps you deem appropriate.
So I want to add to that, these next steps are important because we have not only us, but Ryan has also been working with Base and stuff to also develop these fees for the canyon, which would be separate from ours. And then there's also been discussion about Firelight, and I'm glad Becky's still on. When we gave the cost estimate to West Fork Utilities for the commission and also for Firelight, those sick fees were included in that price. So in a nutshell, if Firelight was to take that whole bucket to BizRad for funding, $8 million, the sick fees are included in that price. So therefore, if that got approved, they would be funded to pay those. We would, I mean, we're still going to charge and collect those, but it wouldn't be they got funded for this and that was separated and then they got to find funding for that. So we got to keep that in mind, Becky. If BizRad decides to only fund 50%, they're going to have to be very specific out of those costs, what they're actually going to fund. So they know, are the pick sick included in that or not included in those fees?
What time frame though? Is that as of today or did the fees go up?
So that's a great point. So that cost estimate went to them this last year. So yes, any inadvertent increases, and that's what happened to the housing trust is those costs went out with Riverview, and David had to fund that increase. And you know, I think that's where some of the misconception, hey, we've had to pay it twice. Well, if you don't get it paid before it increases, then yeah, like with rates and stuff, you're subject to those increases.
So should any future like annexations or whatever else include like some language related to at the time or
disclaimer,
whatever?
Yeah,
almost like we need to buffer that to some degree because we're talking about August, you know, and some of these might be 2 or 3 years out. Things change.
Kind of like when you get a bid that it's good for 90 days or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and you know, here's where I bark about same phrasing, same mindset has to be used with all those costs that are in there.
And maybe for the board's information, I do have again also the hat that I'm helping the Canyon with some of their financials as well. And I think as part of that, I am trying to pull together a broader look at between the Canyon and phase 2, and then I think Danny had mentioned incorporating Firelight as well, to be able to say, okay, what would something look like from a cash flow standpoint? And so I think there's going to be some more internal meetings before it's still in a very rough draft state. And so just kind of walking through some of those assumptions to get people comfortable and see if there's anything that needs to change. But we will have a better look too at, okay, what does it mean community-wide, I hope, as far as actually implementing some of these big critical infrastructure projects.
And I think you're right, that needs to be a point of contention in our annexation, because I think that's a missing piece. So, oh, well, we got it funded. Well, you got this funded, but you didn't get this funded. And that's why I wanted to point out that it was included in the overall price But it's not locked in, that was the rates at the time, so yes, you are correct, if those rates go up, then that costs us.
Some of these agreements are 25 years old.
Exactly.
I wish we were still building at the same rates that we were building 25 years ago.
But
we're not, and I don't want it to appear that we're picking on the housing trust,
No.
because I think that this is what communication and education is all about right here. That situation was a little bit different in the sense that they got in, everything's all set, and then they waited to pull the permit, and it had gone up twice, I believe, in that time frame. That wasn't just a misunderstanding, it's our rates did go up. And I think that disclaimer is the key, that these rates are, may increase at any time, so we strongly suggest that you track them, you're gonna reach out.
Yeah.
But I think a couple of things, this is, first of all, isn't this helpful for everybody just to have I'm gonna say it's 7 slides, because your 8th one is just kind of wrapping up. But I learned a lot in it. I was like, I didn't quite get that. I think that when people see plant investment charge, I understand what the misunderstanding would come in. You say, hey, you paid for the plant, which was 27 million and all kinds of things, but to keep this simple, it's the plant is not what we're talking about. It's everything from the disposal, the water, everything that's going into this to keep it running from that. The tax rolls is critical. That situation. I think that we can avoid so much of this with this program, and that the solution, if we have an issue, all we're doing is treating the symptoms until we get the communication and education out there. Look at us as a board looking at this for the first time.
Well, and that's why I think it's important to make it a standalone, because when we update rates, it's tucked in on the rate sheet, and people, the votes went up. You don't think, the pick sick also went up. So I think extracting that, making it its own standalone, then people know, they've raised these fees, so they can adjust it.
This is gonna be a long, complicated road with the housing trust and BizRat. It's gonna be long and complicated, and we can avoid any misunderstanding if we start. And I think that we are a team, and we can't have a misunderstanding about double charging out there. So again, it doesn't reflect well on the housing trust for paying it, or BizRat for funding it, or us for charging it. So why would we have this misunderstanding out in the community public? Let's get it, let's nip it. And I think it's great. I think it was a good wake-up call for us in the community. I literally printed his first version of this, and it was good that you kept it so tight. I'm gonna keep it my day minder. So every once in a while I look at it and go, okay, what is it again? That's kind of our Bible with how we deal with these rates. And this is probably going to be a pillar in our outreach with the community. And this isn't just about the ratepayers. This is about the community. They have to understand this, that we are out of balance with the disposal. You talked about fire safety. We got to get back in alignment, and that takes capital. We have to represent those people that have owned lots since 1973, or they have people have purchased them with that factored in. If you buy a Cascade lot today, the land's not worth anything. You have to have that hookup. And there are lots out there that don't have hookups. Look at the value difference.
The important factor in another way to combat it is we expanded the plan. And so, we're at 170 million gallons a year. Was the original design. You've expanded the plan. Now you got double that capacity. So 1 million gallons a day is 365 million gallons a year. So what are you going to do with that? Well, then you go into phase 2, you've now doubled it again. So now you're over 500 million gallons of water a year. So this is the crux that we've been in the last 2 years, is you're now in what the district's going to look like for the next 20 years. It's not what it was. That's all changed now, and it's grown, and to fund this growth in the canyon and all that stuff, you're going from a small town of 2,500 to 3,000 people to 5 to 10. Visitation can take you up to 15. Last municipal government I worked for, they were 20,000. Gresham's 100,000. You've got to have the infrastructure to be able to take care of that, and you got to know where you're at in order to be able to say, yeah, we can serve it. We can do that. So.
Polish it. But great job. I know a lot of work went into it, Ryan, over the last 10 days, 2 weeks.
Last time we talked, you had a plan to approach it. BizRad, one of their meetings with this briefing?
Sure.
What you're thinking?
I mean, I think, again, this is a great opportunity. This is all positive. And we're not here to be defensive or anything. We're just here to update, educate. I think there is a misunderstanding out there. And it's our job to correct a misunderstanding and share how it works over here. And that's what we're doing now, like to polish it in August, attend a meeting in September. And in September say, hey, this was the year we're gonna dial everything in, reconcile the phase 2 of the plant. Got a lot of things hanging out there. We just want to make sure we all understand. And I mean it in the positive. We now have, what is it? You can bond out to 2065. Well, that 2065 and all the trend lines they used to go get that bond in place, everything was based on the growth of Big Sky. And the growth of Big Sky doesn't happen without the growth of the Big Sky Water and Sewer District. It doesn't happen. And it's not it's just, guys, if we don't share that message, no one else will. Everything that you're doing up on that board saying we're going to bond out all that money doesn't happen if we're not on track. Same thing with housing. And it's only to say we're a team here. We truly are in a partnership, and we need to get that recognition financially, and people have to understand why. That's all. We can't, it's never going to happen on the ratepayers' back. This TED TIF now being a condition for the canyon, that's a big game changer in my mind. That's a whole new dimension, but that's just my opinion, and we'll hear about that in future meetings. I think everybody's just running with their different entities. In the 3 entities, let's just use the example, BizRad, Water and Sewer District, and Housing Trust. We all have a fiscal responsibility to our membership or our ratepayers or districts. We all have that, but we all have to respect the other conditions that go into it, and this is one of them. There's a misunderstanding. Got to correct it. So, not to pontificate, but let's stay ahead of it. Let's stay ahead of it. Yeah.
Cool. Shane, thank you for joining.
Thanks, Ryan.
You want to give a quick update on what we're doing with the ice and other RFPs that we got out? I know Macy's on the road, so thanks for jumping.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I don't know how long I've been on. I tried a few times to get on this morning to no avail. Yeah, Mace is on the road, so he asked me to jump in at least to give a quick update on the CMGC status. So I can be pretty quick. It's been advertising for, I guess, around 3 weeks now. SOQs and ICE proposals are due this Wednesday at 11 a.m. We have the technical review committee geared up to, I'll get them 11 a.m. and I'll post them and send them out to everybody on the scoring committee. And then we've got a scheduled scoring committee meeting to discuss results on the 29th. Follow that back up with a Canyon board meeting on the 30th to kind of bless our scoring and what we came up with for the shortlisted construction managers. We'll shortlist 3 and then send out RFPs to those shortlisted 3 on August 1. And that'll start up another roughly 30-day period for those outfits to get their proposals in and hopefully get contracted around mid-September. But right now I know I've got 6 contractors who have reached out to me directly with a few questions who are all planning to submit. I suspect there's at least probably 10 in total that'll submit, but a few of those haven't reached out directly, but sounds like there's a few more that are certainly interested and want to submit. But that's about it, I guess, unless anybody has any specific questions. The timeline right now is to get a CM on board by mid-September.
I don't, other than read a bunch of documents.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll I don't know if anybody's interested, or Johnny, how you want to handle it, but I'll share essentially a OneDrive link to all of these proposals and statements of qualification, if you want to share that with your group and whoever, it's public.
I promised them I'd do the heavy lifting, so I'll
Okay.
share the summary with my committee members, so that after I've reviewed everything, and then that way they don't have to read so much.
Right. It could be quite a bit. So
Yeah.
sounds good.
All right, thanks, Shane. Oh,
Thanks. That takes us through.
Yeah.
New business, none?
Nope.
10:08. Well. How about the board? Nice to see the majority here.
Yeah.
We got an August meeting. I got a feeling we'll have one member not in attendance.
Oh, if I'm hearing good things happen.
I had that one pegged. I had that one pegged. I hope you're here, but you better stay and enjoy it.
Oh, cool. Leave us,
Yeah, I think he needs to supply some meat for some barbecue pretty soon.
Bring us up.
yeah.
Hearing a lot of the talk.
I'm not saying it. I hope that actually works out.
See pictures, but he is Lucky Pierre over there. He is a fortunate man.
We got a bell sheet tag, Alaska. It's only one tag.
It's big.
Everywhere. And it's
Nice.
It's big.
20-day backpack trip. Leave August 5th.
Hope you bought a lottery ticket that day.
I did, but Jenny, rather I bought that than.
You stood up on the tag. Oh, congrats. We'll be talking about you. You'll probably be on a committee by the time you come back for another season here.
Yeah.
Al will decide not to be. The 19th gonna work for everybody. Thanks for shifting today around. I really appreciate it.
Don't do.
You okay, Al? You got your flashlight on, by the way. I think that's been on the side earlier too.
No, I don't know if I will be here.
We have a joint committee meeting on the 18th and then the board meeting on the
I
19th.
definitely won't be here on the 18th, I can tell you that.
Okay.
We want to shift things around again. I can't say, Al, sorry, we can't do it. After I just, no, does it help?
Addie's moving to school, so
Okay.
I will be there. And I don't think I'd come back until Tuesday afternoon,
You can always join by Zoom.
but I'll be physically.
Basically move in.
I'm just gonna throw it out, and especially if we don't have another attendee. I mean, we wouldn't have Schropp, we wouldn't have Mike, we wouldn't have Al.
Well, yeah, Jared, so. You guys
We have
discuss.
this about a Wednesday, on the Monday will just mean we don't have anybody here. But what do you think about Wednesday? What's that?
Following Tuesday.
Following Tuesday or the Wednesday, let's decide on this today.
Wednesday would be better for me.
Okay,
Wednesday, the 20th.
so the Wednesday, the 20th, instead of the Tuesday. You okay with that, John?
I could do the 20s.
That works better for me too.
You okay with that? Mike, never mind on your case.
Yeah.
Let's do it. You okay with the Wednesday? You sure?
No, I don't. We're not.
It's good.
Or it's sat phone.
Exactly. That's
Great.
2 hours.
Michael's covering for Chris Leonard, so they run a tight ship over there. Put that down in your notes.
That's my goal.
Michael.
Okay.
All right, the 20th it is.
Any other business? We got that covered? Nothing? Move to adjourn. We'll move.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good meeting.